Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair, the chief streaming idiot. Back to you today. Another except yes. 2 weeks ago, I had Tracy Goodwin on the show to teach me how to talk better. It didn't work. Tracy, come back, help. Anyway, you can find that in YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe because you'll get all sorts of great shows like this one. But really, 2 weeks ago, Tracy did a great job. We commend her highly. Tracy Goodwin with CaptivateTheRoom.com. And she tried to help me, but I think there's some people that are just beyond help. If you think you're one of those people that's beyond help, then you've come to the right place. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn from them. I'm going to make all the big mistakes so you don't have to. That's kind of the theme here. I can be an idiot and you can be the genius while watching the idiot. You know, we love those reality TV shows where the guys do all sorts of goofy stuff and we say to everybody else around us, I'd never do that, but privately we say, that could have been me. So, this could be you. Today we're going to talk about, in addition to talking about mistakes, we're going to talk about some really cool stuff we got coming up this summer and updates on our various PC builds. In the pre-show, which I wish, if I'd have been thinking, I'd have made it part of the show. During pre-show, we were running into a problem. This particular show today is being produced with vMix 15 and broadcast and recorded using Wirecast 4. Need to get that Wirecast updated. And in the pre-show, I was explaining to the guys that had watched the VidBlaster Guy segment prior to that how I was struggling with something in vMix and I couldn't get it to work. In fact, that opening graphic that you saw with the jaws and the moving around faces of me, which is just, one face of me is plenty. But when the jaws open at the end, that's obviously it's a chroma key that supposed to show this picture. Well, it wasn't showing this picture. It was showing chroma key green. And last week it worked. The week before it worked. And I couldn't get it to work. And because I was trying something different. And I was actually trying to, I had taken Martin K had made me that video intro. And so I had imported it into Adobe Premiere Pro because I wanted to add a music track to it and then have the music track fade out at the end because I was having to do all that manually every week and it just wasn't working. I mean, I was screwing it up. You go back and watch last week's show and you'll see what I mean. Anyway, so I produced this file and I brought it into vMix and brought it in and attached it to this shot the way you do in vMix, and all I got was green jaws. And so I said, okay, well, doggone it, and I played with it for a while and I tried different files and I tried different things and I got the same result. And then I said, okay, forget it. I'm gonna take that out of vMix and I'm gonna bring back the previous one, the one I had last week. Well, that one didn't work. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? I have clicked a switch somewhere. I have done something somewhere that I don't know what it is. Don't you hate that? It's like losing your car keys. There are three places where my car keys will be. They'll be in the ignition, in my pocket, or on my dresser. And if they're not one of those places, I don't have a clue where they are. My wallet's the same way. My wallet's either in my back left-hand pocket or it's on my dresser. If you're a thief, you know where my wallet is. It's in my dresser or it's in my back pocket. And if it's not one of those places, I don't know. Same thing for my glasses. They're either there or they're on my bedside table. And if I've put them somewhere else, I have no clue. I'm a creature of habit. And in this case, my vMix habits are not deep enough, so I didn't know what I'd done. And fortunately, with the chat room, who, I think cooperatively, they have like an IQ of like 250, but only like 40 at a time. But don't tell them I said that. No, I'm just teasing. And they were able to say, enough kinds of things to help me kind of work back through and find out that there was a little box I'd forgot to check. So thank you, Andy, and thank you, Martin, and Timothy, who of course came up with the answer after everybody else already had. That's okay. So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and we got to use the screen capture in vMix so everybody could see what I was doing, and I'm sure I looked like a complete idiot, which would have been perfect for the show. So that's the monologue-ish input to this guy. A quick update on our PC builds. We're building 2 PCs simultaneously, which means we're not building anything. I've got the PC build that I started about a month or 6 weeks ago was an old Stream Genie streaming device, streaming appliance that was built in a portable PC case back in 1997. We've gutted the case and are modifying the case to accept a present-day motherboard. And so that's where that one is sort of, it's being physically modified, which means sparks are flying and steel is being ground out, and it's a work in progress. How about that? It's a work in progress. So hopefully by the end of the summer we will have gotten that one all figured out. But since that wasn't coming along fast enough, I decided to start a different build, which should just go by like that. And so I've got a full-size tower. I'm going to basically... I bought a motherboard and power supply and some other peripherals for it, including the EVGA GeForce 750 something video card, because I wanted to see how vMix would work with that. And being the cheapskate I am, I said, well, I'm just going to cannibalize another PC. And I was working on that this morning, and I realized, I've got the PC that I'm going to cannibalize I used during the show. Now, I do use 2 PCs in the show. I'm going to be completely honest about that. One of them is the production PC, which is running vMix and Wirecast. During the VidBlaster show, it runs VidBlaster and Wirecast. And then I have a second PC off to the side here that is running the chat room. And so I use it for the chat, and then I've got one of those little switches that you switch the keyboard and the mouse back and forth. But it's not really using 2 PCs to produce the same show. It's just the chat room. So I'm fudging just a little bit. But that was the PC. The chat room PC is the PC that I wanted to cannibalize. I wanted the CPU out of it, and I wanted the RAM out of it. And I think I'm gonna leave the hard drive in there the way it is so that I can put it back together later and have it as a working PC if I need to. And it doesn't. It's the motherboard has the graphics on it, so it doesn't have a graphics card. And I don't think really there's anything. It was just the RAM and the CPU that I needed. But obviously, it needs RAM and CPU in order to function for the chat PC. So that's a long way of saying I was not able to get that build built back in order to. And then I realized, there's nothing worse than building a new computer and then trying to put it into use immediately, and it wasn't It wasn't going to work. So I stopped. So I have I have two partially built PCs and one that's over there, knowing that it's fixing to be cannibalized right after this show. So maybe next week we'll have a big tower to play with. And the tower may actually function as a new main production PC. We'll just have to see kind of how it works out. The CPU that I'm basing it on is just, again, it's cannibalized. It's stuff that I've got on hand. This is a Intel i7 2600K, so it's a quad core, but it's one of the second generation or first generation i7s, and I'm saving my shekels even though I'm spending them on this new PC build. I'm saving my shekels for the new i7, 6 cores. So when I get enough money for that, we'll see. The problem is the 6 cores, the motherboards are so expensive. So even though you're not spending $1,000 On an i7 Extreme, by the time you buy the PC, the CPU, and a good motherboard, it's taken a good chunk out of $800. So we will keep you abreast at that. And that kind of boy, this is a terrible segue. That does lead me to the segue to say that I am an authorized distributor, a reseller for vMix and VidBlaster, and would be delighted to sell those to you to support my habit of building and testing PCs and equipment. So if you're interested in that, you can go to our store. It's at easternshorebroadcasting.com and see what we've got to offer. VidBlaster's just put out version 4, and so if you're interested in that and you've got version 2 or an old copy of version 3, if your version 3 is less than a year old, you can upgrade for free. But if it's more than a year old, you'll have to pay for the upgrade. I can help you with that. Shoot me an email, Tom at easternshorebroadcasting.com, and I can help you with that. And it will help me with my addiction. But the nice thing about this addiction is I get to test things and find what works and what doesn't work, and push things around a lot. This new PC is also going to be a test bed for the AJA Kona 4 that Eric Norell sent me. So with any luck, we'll actually be broadcasting using that setup next week. So it'll be a new PC, a new video card, and then the AJA Kona 4 4-port SDI capture card. He's also sent some of those little mini converters, HDMI to SDI. So we'll probably, I've got 3 cams, 3 Canon cams here, and we'll probably go ahead and set those up. So we'll have a multi-cam shoot and probably just throw them around different places in the studio so you guys can see, but it'll all be high definition. And we may even play with 1080. We'll probably try to record it at 1080 and stream it at 720, and we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what works, and keeping in mind that it's going to be a high-tech setup built on a first-generation i7 chip. So maybe that may not be fair, but it'll be a good test, and we'll see. Hey, what can you get away with if you're like me and you're trying to reuse and recycle and not spend money that you don't have to? Can you get away with this? What's the likelihood that you can do 1080p? With an i7 2600K processor and a bunch of RAM and the right capture card and the right video card. See, I think the video card and the capture card are going to be the key. If they can do a lot of the processing of the video as it comes into the PC and then as it goes out to you and then goes out to be recorded, then you can get away with a little less powerful CPU. So it just depends. In this case, we've got the new card from AJA, which is on loan, and then a new video card that is one we've purchased. But the motherboard and the CPU are existing, and so we'll just see what we can find out. And and a failure is fine because that tells us that we've crossed the line somewhere, and then we can cut back on our resolution in order to see what where the wall is. Somebody's asking in the chat room, what do you use for cheap SDI HD cameras? Well, I don't think there is something that's cheap, but what we do is we use the mini converters. So we're taking an inexpensive, in this case, a Canon Vixia. This is a 100, and we've got a Vixia 200 somewhere that we just picked up inexpensively in eBay. I think they were lightly used cameras, and so we've got $100 in the camera, and then an HDMI to SDI converter, mini converter, which depending on what you get, I've got one on hand from Blackmagic, and then AJA is sent to. So we'll get a chance to test those, the Blackmagic against the AJA. In fact, that'll be fun. I've got 2 Canon 100s, so the cameras will be the same. And we'll set one of them up on a Blackmagic mini converter and one on an AJA mini converter and see if there's any difference. And even if they're the same, then I think then it becomes kind of a price and availability. Which one can you get the cheapest for the quickest? when you need that kind of stuff. So we'll be interested. It'll be interesting to play with that, see how that works. The AJA Kona 4 is not an inexpensive capture card. I think it's a few more bucks than the Blackmagic Quad. It does feature a full-size SDI connection as opposed to the Blackmagic's got those little half-size jobbies that sometimes it's hard to find cables for. But the AJA also works as an integrated, boy, am I just diving into the deep end and using words I don't understand. The AJA Kona 4 has a secret connection to Wirecast and to vMix, where it talks in a secret language, and only Wirecast and vMix can understand that language, and only Kona 4 can understand that language. And so they communicate using this secret language, and all sorts of magical things happen. That's my level of understanding on it. So we'll be having fun with that next week. It'll be fun. Anyway, that'll be fun. Coming up this summer, as we talk about fun things, this is going to be a blast, and I'm going to need your help with it. If you can help me with this, I'm all over it. I want to do a shootout. You remember the good old shootouts at the OK Corral? Well, they probably weren't good, because if you got shot, you either died or died later of your wounds. It was pretty awful. But we're going to call it a shootout anyway, because it'll be fun. What I'm thinking is we can have the top tier of software switchers, live video production software, vMix, VidBlaster, Wirecast, those three. Those are my top tier. And have a representative, a VidBlaster guy, a vMix guy, and a Wirecast guy come in to advocate for their software. Now, I want to be the moderator, so I need a VidBlaster guy, but I also need a Wirecast guy, and I also need a vMix guy. So I'm thinking it would be really nice to have some folks that really do know the software well, have been using it for a while, can advocate for it. And this is not a flame session on the other softwares, but if I'm out there and I'm thinking, let's say, for example, I want to do church broadcasting. I would be really interested in hearing from 3 people that use the 3 different softwares to say how it works for church broadcasting. If I am, which I've done, which is why it interests me, if I'm using it to broadcast sports, which I've done, which one of those 3 would be good to start with, or to end with? Because you know, no sense in starting with one if you're not going to stay with it. Depending on what you're doing, different softwares work better. Depending on how you're doing it, what your workflow is, some softwares work better in a predetermined workflow than other. And so to be able to talk with that and to talk about that and to demonstrate it too. And I'm thinking also probably a United States evening time show, maybe a 8 p.m. Eastern or something like that. My apologies to the guys in Europe, but trying to find a way to get as many people available to be on that show as possible. Maybe do a Google Hangouts as a way to bring in 4 people, or a multiple Skype call, or a multiple WebRTC call, or find a way anyway to get multiple folks on the call and to chat about what's going on, and maybe even find a way to be able to demonstrate some of those features. I'm thinking that if there's some, 5 or 6 basic features that we're thinking each software should have, to have the guys explain how those basic features work, and maybe give a demonstration of one of them. I mean, this is not going to be a 6-hour show. I guess it could be, but nobody would watch it. And then let them pick. The idea is kind of evolving as we're talking about it. Maybe let them pick, one feature about their software that they really like, within the theme of church broadcasting or talk show broadcasting or event broadcasting or sports broadcasting or something like that. If it's sports broadcasting, everybody's going to talk about sports specific stuff like scoreboards or instant replay. Those are kind of the big two right there, I would think, that are needed in sports that are not not needed in church or talk shows. Nobody wants to watch an instant slow motion replay of me talking. The first time was bad enough. But it will be interesting to see what people think are the important elements of their software in those different environments. So it'll be fun. And then I may let you guys score it. We'll do some sort of live score or a poll that we can convert into a score to see which one you like best for churches, which one best for sports, which one best for talk shows. So that'll be kind of fun. And then we'll put that on YouTube and leave the scoring open so people can see it. But you can only vote once on the score, so we'll find a way to make it unique in that sense, or something like that. Something like that. We'll see. So look for the Summer Shootout and send me any ideas you have on that, or if you want to volunteer to work on that, that would be great. And then we'll be updating you on the PC build. And then for folks that are interested in VidBlaster's version 4, take a look at the VidBlaster Guy show that we just did that will be posted will be posted today on YouTube, May 27th, 2014. So I think I've about covered all of my notes. Coming up, we don't have dates yet, but coming up, we do have the guys from Chatwing. They're going to come talk about Chatwing. And I'm hoping to get Eric Norell on the show to talk about what AJA has to offer. The folks from Osprey have volunteered to be on, so those will be some interesting shows, having two different sets of capture card guys on there. And then we'll just have to see where the rest of it lands. We've got some good ideas about it for the summertime. So it's going to be an interesting summer for broadcasting. I hope you will stick with us. This show, the Streaming Idiots show, is taped, is streamed live and taped on Wednesdays, but we don't publish. Tracy Goodwin did a great show 2 weeks ago on how to present well. And obviously, even though she critiqued me, it hasn't helped me at all. I still get tongue-tied. So you can go back and see that one in the archives, by the way. But and then I lost my whole train of thought. She said, if you write it down, you won't lose your train of thought. And I thought, that's a good idea. I ought to write some of this stuff down, and then I'd never remember to write it down. Anyway, so shoot me an email, and I'll tell you what the last thought was when the time comes. But I know what it was. There you go. You walked right back through that threshold. If you would like to watch this show before we post it live post it on YouTube on Fridays, go to easternshorebroadcasting.com and sign up for our exclusive video content. And I will send you a note when we have uploaded shows like this, because this particular show gets uploaded a couple of days before it's released, but it's sitting there. And so you'll get to see it before we've polished it, and also have a chance to watch and see what the Streaming Idiot has said next. So if you're interested in, and we have other goodies that we give away from time to time too. So if you're interested in exclusive video content, go to our website, sign up. If you're watching us on YouTube, or even if you're watching us live, please subscribe on YouTube. And YouTube will send you a nice innocuous note on occasion to let you know that we've uploaded a new video. So, how much fun was all that? That was pretty good. Now, I don't have any kind of fancy outro to show you guys today. It's just going to be a, kind of like, the show's over. We'll see you next time. So, the show's over. See you next time. And love being with you. Take care. Catch you next time.